Hello, students, and anyone else who may be watching from home. This is Mr. Borges, also known as Zanzolo, and today we're going to be talking about our next project in Scratch. So here is our assignment page, and we're going to be learning about clones. And so you'll see we have an example here, and this is the video that you're watching right now, or it will be in a minute. So if I click on this example, you see I have a little bit of music in here, but what you'll see is there's a bunch of stuff going on. We see these cats and these dogs, and they're all sort of raining down from the top of the screen. So if I was to do this without clones or something like this, right, making it snow or rain or whatever, I would have to write different instructions for different sprites. See, I could write, here, let me show you what I'm talking about here. So we go into Scratch, and as you can probably imagine, right, if we got Scratch Cat here, we can write instructions for Scratch Cat. We can tell Scratch Cat, hey, when the green flag is clicked, I want you to go to the top of the screen. Let's move them up there. Okay, that was weird. Let's move them up there. And then we can say, go to that top of the screen. Then we can write instructions for them to repeat something some number of times. Say we want them to move down. We learned about change Y in our maze project. We're going to change it by a negative number to make them move in a downward direction. And then we can run this, and we see Scratch Cat moves downward some ways. Now I want them to move quite a bit further than that, so I'm going to increase this, and then we'll see what it does. Right, and I want them to go further than that too. So I happen to know that the y-axis goes from it's 360 pixels. So if I can get Scratch Cat way up on the top as much as I can, and then if I was to go 36 times, that would cover that whole distance. But Scratch Cat's actually sticking out a little bit here, so I don't need to travel that whole way. And then they'll get stuck on the bottom a little bit. And so I think that they did. But anyway, that's the idea. I probably could have done a little bit less than that because of that. Right, let's see, then Scratch Cat didn't quite make it, but that's fine. So something about that's what I was going for. Anyway, then once Scratch Cat's done that, we can send them back to the top and then have them move down again. Basically, I want to do all this again, over and over. So we put that all inside a forever loop. And then now I can get Scratch Cat moving in this way. And, that's kind of like what we were going for. Although it's a little repetitive, I can randomize things a little bit by changing the X position and allowing that to be random. Let's change that from, the X-axis goes from, it's 480 pixels. So we'll go from negative 240 to 240. And then when we run this, we see that we get Scratch Cat moving all around and different stuff. But we only ever had one Scratch Cat on the screen at a time. That's because we only have one sprite. So, we can make Scratch Cat smaller like it was in the example project that I showed you. And then if we want I want another one, we can duplicate it, sure. So now we've got 2, and we can run that. We can do it again. We can duplicate it. We've got 3, and we can do that. And we could use wait blocks to get a little bit of a delay in here so that they weren't all starting at the same time. And we could do things like that. But if we wanted more and more and more, we'd have to add more and more and more sprites. Right? Then if later on we say, oh yeah, we wanted to add a dog to this also, well, we're going to have to go to each one of those sprites. You might have 20 sprites. I don't know how many sprites you might have. You have to go to each one of them one at a time and add the dog costume. Either that or delete them all except one, add the dog, and then duplicate them all again. And it's tedious to do every time you want to make a change. Then say, oh, we actually wanted this to be 36. Well, now you got to go to all of your sprites and change that one at a time. All the 36. And that's tedious. And so we don't like to do that. So what we can do instead, to get a similar effect with a lot less work, is we can have the project make clones of our sprite for us. I'm going to get rid of these extra sprites. What we're going to do instead, we're going to keep something very much like this, right? Except what we're going to do is we're not going to have one sprite doing the same thing over and over forever. We're going to have one clone do this one time and then delete itself. Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to tell this sprite, when you start as a clone, yeah, do this, and then when you're done, delete yourself. So it's not one sprite doing all this over and over and over in a forever loop. It's going to be a copy of the sprite, a clone that does this one time and then deletes itself. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have the original, right? The original scratch cat, the original sprite, make copies of itself. And so we can say, make over and over and over, create a copy of yourself. It's going to make copies. Right? And so we can run it like this, and then we see that we get tons of scratch cats. Right? And I did not have to make, how many are on the screen right now? I did not have to make 30 copies of the sprite all over the place. Now, there's two things I want to point out to you. And that is, number one, is that this scratch cat right here that's not moving at all, that's the original scratch cat. I didn't write any instructions for the original scratch cat except to make copies of itself. I never told the original to move in any way. Right? I've told the clones to move, and the clones have separate instructions. So you have two choices here. You could also write the same instructions for the original, just something like this, to duplicate this part and stick it in there. Right? Here we go. So you can run that. And then we get the original doing stuff too. But as you can see, this has slowed the loop down so much that we're only creating one clone at a time. So we don't want to slow this loop down. This is what's making the clones like crazy. We could put this in a separate forever loop so that this could still go full speed, and that so that the original could be doing this. But you know what? It's just kind of messy to write this code to try to get the original to do something. What we can do, if we don't like this one scratch cat just sitting here, we can tell it to hide. We can use a hide block. So when the green flag is clicked, the original will hide. Now, what that does, though, is it makes all the clones, when they make copies of themselves, because the original is hidden, the clones are also going to be hidden. So I have to give one more instruction for the clones to say, when you start as a clone, show. So now the original scratch cat is hidden, and all the clones are showing themselves. So now if I want to make a change like add the dog, I don't have to change a bunch of different sprites. I only have one sprite. Like I've got this extra costume here I'm not using. I'm going to add a costume for a dog. See, under animals, I know there's some dogs in here. Here we go. Now it's dog all the time. Right? Cat all the time. Dog all the time. So what I can do is I can have it pick, and there's more than one way to do this. Because clones make copies of the original, what I could do is I could have the original, every time you make a copy of yourself, switch to the next costume. Right? Then the original will be a cat and a dog and a cat and a dog. And each time I make a copy of it, the copy is going to be a cat and a dog and 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 stuff like that. It's not very random, but it gives the appearance of being pretty mixed up. Right? Kind of gives a random feel when it comes out. Right? If you wanted to be truly random, what we could do is we could say switch costume. Right? We could say switch costume to, when you start as a clone, switch costume to, and then what we can do is we can use a random number, and then we could pick a 1 to 2. Right? So that then, start this over again, so that then every time the clone is created, it's going to pick a random number, either costume number 1 or costume number 2 to switch to. But as you can see, it's pretty much the same kind of look and feel as we had before. So you can approach that either way. It's actually, I think it's a little bit simpler. Let me get rid of that. It's a little bit simpler just to do this. And then that way, we're never going to get randomly. You could get all extra cats or extra dogs or something else, and this is going to always be a balanced mix this way. Alrighty, so that's the main idea of this project, but I do want to show you it's an important thing that we're managing our clones. And so to talk about that for a second, I'm going to remove this block. So I'm not going to delete my clones. I'm going to show you the problems. You can see the clones are starting to pile up on the bottom of the screen right here. Maybe that's a problem, maybe that's not. But then as you notice now, I ran out of clones. I didn't really run out. They're all here. But what I've got is I've got about 299 clones all piled up on the bottom of the screen right here. And that's the limit. Scratch has a limit to how many clones you can create. It's because you could actually crash somebody's computer pretty easily by trying to make infinity clones, because each one of these is something the computer has to keep track of. These are not stamps. Right? These are separate things, clones. They're separate entities that the computer needs to keep track of. They have their own separate instructions. So the computer's drawing these and keeping track of all these different things. And if you were to try to have infinity of them, right, you would eventually, you don't have infinity memory on your computer, eventually you'd crash any computer. And so if I stop this, these clones, they only live while the program's running, right? As you can see, right, they're freed up as soon as I stop the project. So to avoid this problem of running out of clones, right, to hit this clone cap of 299, to avoid doing that, what we need to do is we need to manage our clones, and that's part of managing our memory of our project. Right? And so what we do is when we're done with the clone, when a clone's finished its job, this is almost like, I know some of you watch Mr. Meeseeks and Rick and Morty, which is not a children's show, but I know some of you watch it. Right? When they finish their tasks, when the clones finish their tasks, they just poof, go up out of existence, right? So it's just like Mr. Meeseeks, right? The clones, they just want to die. That's all they want to do. They're fine with it, trust me. So basically, when they finish their instructions, we need to have them delete themselves. Otherwise, you're going to have a infinite pile of them down here, all getting miserable and whatever, fighting with each other and sucking up all of your computer memory. So by running it this way, right, by deleting them when I'm done, I'm not going to run out of them. Now, it's possible to still run out of them if I have them move slowly enough, right? And then we make this number higher, right? Let's see. We're going to do like this, and they're going to slowly be moving along. And actually, I don't know if I'm going to run out still. No, see, I'm still okay. Let's do 300. Because at some point or another, what will end up happening is, I think this is the one that might do it. At some point or another, so these are the new clones that have an instruction of 300. And nope, there was no gap at the top still. Huh, interesting. I wonder if we can get it there. I think 400 is too many because the stage is only 360 pixels tall. So I'm sure that we'll get there at this point. But they'll be piling up on the bottom again, and so there was a gap there where they were piling up, and we weren't able to make new ones, and then it caught up for a bit, and then I think the same thing will happen one more time right now. Yeah, see, we used up all 300 of our clones, and they were piled up on the bottom. While they were piling up on the bottom, we had a gap here that was showing where we couldn't make any more. So this is just what I wanted to show you. Weird things can happen when you're using clones. And the reason why things like this are happening is because there is a limit of only using 300. So just be aware of that in your project. If you're seeing weird things like this happen, you can change something, right? I'm making my clones fall too slowly, right? I can solve the problem pretty quickly by having them fall faster and do less steps like this. Then it will take less of them to fill the whole screen, and then I won't have this problem of running out of clones. As you can see, right, they're starting to disappear down here without ever having any gaps. Anyways, so to finish up your project, I want you to add a bit of music. Now I'm just going to, and get yourself a backdrop. You always need a backdrop. So get yourself a backdrop. We're going to do a bit of music, and I'm just going to remind you, I don't need this pop sound. I'm just going to grab a loop sound, and the one I used in my example was this one. Wait, it was one of these. I think it was called Chill. Yeah, this one right here. So, and to me, it's way too loud. And I don't like it being quite so loud. And then I put this into a loop. Actually, I'm not even sure if I've got my sound settings in such a way that you can hear the sound. But I do want you to add sound to your project. So when the green flag is clicked, forever and ever and ever, we're going to go to the sounds and play Chill until done. Then you're going to get yourself some instructions. Your project maybe doesn't need very much instructions, but let the user know, hey, I didn't forget to write instructions. Click the green flag, LOL, something, enjoy. Put something in here. Don't leave it blank. You're going to get yourself a better title than untitled, whatever that's going to be. And then you'll share your project and then turn it into Canvas. So you'll share your project, and then you're going to copy the address right here, either by right-clicking on this, or I've noticed some of my students like to click. There it goes. It's shared now. I noticed some of my students like to click this button right here, copy link, and then click copy link to copy the link. That's another way to do it. You can go back to Canvas, and you'll have a submit assignment button. I don't have that button as a teacher. You'll click that button, and then it's going to bring you to the bottom of the screen. You'll paste in the website URL of your project that we just copied, and then you'll click submit assignment one more time. And that's it for this one. All right, folks. So I want you to go ahead and make your own clone project. You can make it rain. You can make it snow. In class, I drew snowflake as an example. So you could have snowflakes that you were using. I'm raining cats and dogs right now. You can make it rain money or whatever. Softballs, your own. Come up with your own interesting, crazy ideas. And I want to check out your projects. All right, folks. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.